Ladies and gentlemen, please, a very warm welcome to Mr. Eddie Izzard. Eddie, you're a big fan of Morecambe and Wise, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Now, they sort of, you're known, I don't want to put you in a box, but you're known as a surrealist comic.
Yeah.
Do you mind being called a surrealist?
No, I think that's great. I think that's, I mean, you know, you did everything on your show that I would have hoped to have done.
Yes, yes.
So just going off from Wild Flights of Fantasy's very influenced by Python. Mm-hmm. And I always thought Eric Morecambe was doing stuff that was just out of the box, and in stand-up terms, you know, he's just going in different directions. It's beautiful.
Well, let's have a look. We've got to carry on the ventriloquist theme from the clips we saw earlier. Here's a little bit of Eric and Ernie being quite surreal.
We did a thing about a year, 18 months ago. It was a thing called Oggy, that we had the enormous dummy, a 12-foot dummy. Yeah. And I was this ventriloquist with a 12-foot dummy. And I think we went through that once, didn't we?
When you get a piece like that, you can't. It's got to play with the audience.
It can only depend on what your audience give you for a thing like that.
Yes. What do you call him?
Pardon?
What do you call him?
Hoggy!
Oh,
Hoggy, and he's solid oak!
Solid oak?
Yeah, I made it myself.
Did you?
You know that big clearing in Epping Forest? Tim.
No.
How about that? 600 squiddles, without homes now.
No.
And his pockets are full of nuts.
No. Can you work it?
Pardon?
I said, can you work it?
How do you mean? How do you mean?
Make it talk.
Ah, well, I don't know. I've never tried, because when he's up straight, you see?
Yeah.
When he's up straight, I can't get my hand on his thing. You know, the thing that you've got to pull to make his mouth
You
work.
mean the strings at the back?
That's a bit of a strain for me, that, you see.
Yes, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well, you'll have to do something about it, won't you?
What can I do?
Here, I'll sit on that chair.
Lovely.
And let him lean on you. That's it, that's fine. OK. Now you can get your hand around the back. Hey, wait a minute, he's getting a bit heavy for me.
He is heavy,
easy, I'm only... OK.
Although they were very meticulous about rehearsing stuff, in scenes like that, as they were saying, there's a lot that you can't rehearse because of the dummy and stuff. I want to ask you, Eddie, about the way that you work on stage, because you ad-lib a lot on stage, don't you? What's your working method?
Working method for an individual, it's interesting, because I'm a double act, and I was a double act beforehand. And my individual method is just to, for improvising, is keep the gate open, and you talk, and then you just keep talking, you just never, ever stop talking. Slightly different to group improvising, where you have to talk and then shut up.
Listen, yeah.
In the double act, it's very interesting, because when I was in the double act, they're doing physical situation comedy, because I was a street performer, and you notice that bit where he says to Eric, he says, can you get it working?
Yes.
And he goes, you what? Can you get it working? And he's looking for angles where he can get double entendres, something he can play, just go off on a different angle. He's always looking for that. He finds that more fun. You can see when he gets an idea, or he thumps him, or it's just beautiful. And we as an audience are watching Eric, just waiting to see what can he find. We just want him to find stuff.
And I think there's the example you mentioned there when he asked him to repeat the line. I think you sometimes see that when not sure whether the audience heard it the first time.
Yeah.
So just say, oh, what was that? So you say it again just to make sure the laugh is there.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing about them as well, I think, was their sort of training of just, you know, being on stage from a very early age, is that when things went wrong, they just continued. They didn't stop and say, we better do that again, because in the theatre, of course, when things go wrong, you can't stop, you have to carry on.
I haven't seen that interview, the first one you did, where they're sitting there. They seemed so relaxed together. They really did get on, didn't they?
Yes, I mean, we'll talk about that later on, but yes, you know, there's sort of the standard interview question from the journalist would be at the time, you know, do you two get on? And they would sort of say, well, you know, we have our separate families and stuff. And, oh, so you're not with each other 24 hours a day, hoping that there was some sort of rift between them, but of course there never was. We're talking about, mentioning ad-libbing there, we've got a couple of examples here of, because although they learnt the script meticulously, sometimes they also forget it. And let's have a look at a couple of examples of them getting out of difficulty.
Hey, now listen, I'll tell you. No, listen, I'll tell you what. If I promise to do that play properly, that one there, if I promise to do it properly, no messing about, how does that grab you?
This play?
Yeah. You couldn't do that again.
Can't
Can't you see what would happen if I told the public all about you? Hundreds of people would follow you all over the place, trying to touch you.
You know, we've missed a gem out, but it doesn't...
We haven't.
Yeah. Doesn't matter, though. No, we can do it next year. Yeah. Follow me about all over the place, touching me, the people.
People touching you all over the place.
Of course. The girl, I wouldn't say that. No. No, it's not people touching you all over the place,
Did I say it wrong, did I?
No, you said it right. Got a good laugh.
All right.
Yeah. Would you like to go off and come on again?
No, no. Listen, nobody can advertise on the BBC. Even Lord Hill can't say what kind of pipe tobacco he smokes.
No wonder. It's mine. He is known along the powers of corridor.
Of corridors of power?
Corridors of power. Now, don't forget he walks backwards.
Yes, he does.
That was good.
I think the moment where the paper hat just lands on his head there is an extraordinary happy accident you sometimes get in comedy, isn't it?
It is beautiful, and you watch Ernie looks off stage, but obviously they're just going to relax and go with it because they know these are golden moments. And it's like, I think they were the only people doing it. Everyone else was trying to do a show, trying to do a funny show. They're actually trying to do a show that's sort of okay, and then things just keep breaking up.
I think their focus as well is very much on the sort of the live audience that's there.
Yeah.
And you saw it briefly in the huge ventriloquist doll, if you noticed it, but when the doll's leg goes over the side, you actually see that they're built up, they're actually on a wooden stage that's 2 foot up.
Right.
Because they said they felt happier walking onto a wooden stage. But one thing I wanted to ask you about, one of their great ambitions, which they never really achieved, was they wanted to make it big in America, but they never sort of, they never really did it. They played the Ed Sullivan Show a lot of times, had made good impact on that, but then they'd sort of fly back home. Now, you've had some degree of success in the States.
A big degree.
A big degree of success. Sorry, the researchers told me it was some.
I know. The interesting thing is no one actually knows. I could say I'm just so major in America. You know, no one actually knows because I didn't know Morecambe and Wise had been there and done 18 shows.
But you have done. I mean, you have done very well in the States. So what have you done that they didn't do?
Well, I just went there and stayed there until they gave in.
Yes.
This was the trick. I analysed it. I'm very military with my approach. Transvestite with a career, you've kind of got to be.
Yeah.
So I worked out that if you did a TV series, it could fail. You could do a film, it could fail. The clubs, you could get lost. Go to New York and just play a small theatre over and over again until the New York Times gave you a big thumbs up, and that was the technique I used. I did the North Face of the Eiger route, which I prefer because it's, you know, it's real grassroots stuff.
I think in one of your films, is it Ocean 13, you mentioned Morecambe and Wise?
Well, that's actually the right, that's Steven Soderbergh.
Oh, is it?
That's Steven Soderbergh being a Brit fan. There's a number of people who are into our comedy from way back, and they mention it, like, what is it? It's a reference, yeah, as big as Morecambe and Wise, or there's some reference to that, which looks like it's coming from me. It's coming from Steven Soderbergh and the writers.
Well, Eddie, thank you very much for helping us to look at some of those clips. Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Izzard.